excited for this conversation. Excited to have you here. My name is Lamar Tyler. I'm the creator and founder of Traffic, Sales, and Profit. We help entrepreneurs do three things: drive more traffic, convert more sales, and grow the amount of profit in their businesses. And we're here today with a exciting conversation. And just to give you guys a chance to get your questions out. There's so much going on, right? Between the pandemic, between economic collapse, you could say, and the government is releasing stimulus packages left and right. And there's so much money being flooded into the marketplaces. Businesses are hurting. Businesses are failing, right? Businesses are needing a source of funding. And in the last few days, in the last week or two, right, we've seen so many different things start to happen in the market. So many things start happening across the country. But what I'm finding more than anything is that entrepreneurs don't know what to do. They don't know what the next step is. They're confused because every time they cut on the TV, every time they read an article, the information that they get around any of these funding opportunities is totally different. So how can we get down to the bottom of it tonight? That is exactly what we'll do. I brought together a panel of financial experts. I'm about to introduce you to them in just a moment. But I brought together a panel of financial experts to answer the biggest questions that you guys have around these different SBA funding vehicles, so they can help you try to figure out which one is right for you, so they can help you figure out what you need to actually apply and hopefully successfully gain one of these, so they can talk about why you need to take action now, y'all. Win now, not later, because time is of the essence, and we're going to explain that to you, and so they can answer any outline questions that you may have that we don't get to in the first round of conversation. All right, so this is the first time we've done this with so many people on at once, but I'm excited to have this conversation with you guys. And I'm excited to be bringing this to our traffic, sales, and profit community. So before we get started, do me a favor, guys. I want you to let me know if you can hear me and you can see me okay. I want you to drop a comment down into the chat, letting me know who you are, letting me know where you're from, right? I want to know who you are, where you're from. And I also want to know what kind of business you have. Is it a brick and mortar? Am I a florist, right? Am I a coach? Am I a consultant? Am I an author? Do I own a restaurant? Let me know the most information about you as you possibly can, where you're located, because this will help us guide today's conversation as we talk to this special group of entrepreneurs we have, the ABC Money Team. And I see comments already coming in. Yes, confusing. Hey, what's going on, Angela? Angela Hawkins from Band Blue is in the building, right? And I'm excited to do this. So without further ado, guys, let me tell you about some of the people that we have for you today to actually break and share this information down with you. All right, first, Amelia Thomas. Amelia's a financial planner and tax accountant who specializes in tax planning and advisory services for business owners using the strategies of the 1%. Amelia's passions lie in assisting families with creating legacy-building frameworks that will carry the family wealth forward for the next 200 years. She has a dedicated money team that includes attorneys, CPAs, and other qualified professionals to ensure that one cohesive strategy is implemented to grow and protect her clients' assets. Guys, please help me in joining to the conversation, Miss Amelia Thomas. Hey, Amelia, how are you? All right. Are you doing good today? How you doing? You having a great day so far?
I'm well, Lamar. I'm having a great day. Thanks so much for having me. It looks like I was muted.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Yep, so we're excited to have you to be part of this conversation today, and we're ready to get this thing kicked off. I just want to make sure Amelia's here, and she is good, locked and loaded for today's conversation. Our next guest we're bringing in is Brigid Gagne. She's a CPA, MBA, and is an entrepreneur and former banker who is the managing member of Gagne Associates CPAs, a full-service CPA firm, and a co-founder of Not Your Average Bean Counter, a training organization. Brigid has extensive experience working with small growing businesses as a CFO, a controller, and advisor. She has worked with businesses and nonprofits to execute business strategies and assist them in raising both debt and equity capital. Let's bring Brigid into the conversation to make sure she is good. Hey, Brigid, how are you doing today?
I am well. Good to be here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you perfectly, right? And I'm excited. I'm sure, Brigid, you've been getting a lot of
Great.
questions, I'm sure, right, from people that just don't know what to do with this thing.
Absolutely. I am inundated. I'm having to split my day between my client issues, just regular ongoing, into this COVID. There's a lot of questions out there about this COVID, and we're excited to be here to talk about it.
All right. Thank you so much, Brigid. All right, next up, guys, we're going to be joined by Spicita Jackson. She's a CPA and certified public accountant, author, speaker, business coach, CEO, and founder of Tax Plus 365, a CPA firm located in Atlanta. Tax Plus 365 provides quality tax, accounting, audit, and CPA advisory services to working professionals, entrepreneurs, small business, and governmental entities. She also transitioned from working at a big four accounting firms, performing audits, carve-outs, mergers, acquisitions, and business purchase advisory services to owning her own business, which I heard she actually founded during a recession as well. Spicita, how are you doing today?
I am doing great, Lamar. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. Thank you again for agreeing along with the other experts on the panel to just weigh in and share some of the things you know about it, and also being able to answer questions along the way. And then last but not least, we have Ephraim Oakville. Ephraim is a founder and managing director of EFS Group, where he focuses on client relations and business development. Ephraim has been a certified public accountant since 2012. Previously, he was an audit associate at PricewaterhouseCoopers, where he worked on financial audit engagements of large Fortune 100 companies. Since 2009, he has dedicated his career to helping small business owners strategize on how they can maximize their profits while lowering their tax liabilities. Let's bring Ephraim in. Ephraim is coming in to us from the great state of Houston. Hey, Ephraim, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How's everyone doing?
Perfect. All right, so let's bring our whole panel in so we can jump into this conversation together. They are a portion of the actual ABC Money Squad, right? But I'm excited for this conversation today. Now, guys, before we get started, because you guys are spread out, right, from Atlanta to DC to Houston, and then you have other members that are in other cities such as the Bay Area in California and Chicago as well. What is the ABC Money Squad?
So, hey, Lamar, this is so the ABC Money Squad is a group of us. We came together. We just been talking about how can we work together. We're in the TSP mastermind group, and at various times we've met and said, got to figure this out. While we all work with businesses and accounting and finance and tax, we just niche in various areas. So we said, why don't we bring our resources together and go out there and market? So really, ABC Money Squad is a collaborative marketing group, really, so that people can come to one place and find good accounting, financial auditing, CPA services. So we're accountants, A is for bookkeepers, and C is for consultants. So again, we came together, working at, being a part of TSP, and we said, for us, unfortunately, that we have to under these dire circumstances, but it's really for, causing us to come together and really work together, which we don't see very often in our industry, especially working for and with Black entrepreneurs.
I love it. So on behalf of, business owners all across this country and even outside the country, I see Dr. Ava Brown joining in from Northern Ireland. Hey, Ava, glad you could join us. So for people inside and outside this country, thank you guys for having this conversation and informing us on some things that we may not be aware of, but we definitely need to take advantage of. So let me start with Amelia. Amelia, for people that maybe don't know, right, maybe their head's been in the sand, or maybe they just been struggling to keep up with what's going on with their company and keep their company afloat over the last few weeks, as state by state and city by city has been shutting down. What's been going on with the economy and with the stimulus package? And for somebody that may not have known or been aware of everything, what's kind of going on over the last week or so with just the government, the stimulus package that's been released, in the economy?
Great question, Lamar. So as many people may know, we are seeing unprecedented as it relates to business closures, as it relates to unemployment, as it relates to just uncertainty in the future of our economy as a nation. And as a result, we are seeing, several people who just don't really know what to expect from day to day. And because of that, you have packages such as the CARES Act, where the Congress passes legislation so they can try to prevent so many small businesses from closing. So when you the American being employed by small businesses, obviously it's pretty important to make sure that these businesses stay afloat, because again, they don't want to put such a great strain on the various states' unemployment systems. And if anyone has been watching what's going on in the news right now, most state unemployment systems are 40 plus years old, and they are crashing every day with the number of unemployment claims. And so far, just to put things into perspective, back in 2008, I believe the highest weekly average unemployment claims was about 700,000, and we have already eclipsed 10 million unemployment claims. So that is a huge number. That is a lot of people who are not receiving income. So people are desperately seeking solutions to pay their bills right now. And that was the importance of the CARES Act and PPP.
Yeah.
For people that may not have been aware of what's going on. So since, right, with the CARES Act, there's been a lot of opportunity and a lot of discussion as well. And one of the reasons I wanted to have this talk was because I feel like oftentimes when there is opportunity, the African-American community, either we don't find about it or we find about it too late, right? And it's a conversation I've had, I think, independently probably with all of you and then collectively as a group as well. What are the opportunities that are available right now for small business owners that are in trouble? And Spicita, maybe you can kick us off, and then Ephraim, if you want to, follow in as well.
Well, there's two things out there under the CARES Act. There's $349 billion that the CARES Act has made available to 30 million small business owners in the United States, right? Under that, we have what's called the Paycheck Protection Program, whereby that's where people are hearing about the loan forgiveness, right? So you can borrow money to cover payroll, to cover mortgage interest, just things to keep people employed. So that program is designed so that people can stay employed. But then we have what's out there called the EIDL, and that's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. That's always been there. So like when the hurricanes happen and things like that, the government always had economic injury available to small businesses and individuals. But that has been expanded because we're all in economic injury. And so under that program, loans are made available. I think that's up to 10 million. Ephraim could clear that up, Ephraim or anybody on the group. And then there's up to 2 million available under the PPP. So it's a lot of stuff going on out here, Lamar, and a lot of free money that's being made to small business owners as well as individuals. But our focus as the ABC Money Squad is to make sure that we're out here helping small businesses survive through this.
Right, and like Spicita was saying, we have two really good programs that are out that everyone's paying attention to. You have the Paycheck Protection Loan Program, and you have the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And the cool thing about it is these loans that they're giving, like for the Paycheck Protection Loan Program, the payroll, you could potentially have 90% to 95% of it forgiven and turned into a grant, so that's pretty amazing. And then what I like really about it is that for both programs, you have the amount of years you have to pay back. For the Paycheck Protection Loan Program, you have 10 years at 3.75% interest if you're a business owner, and then if you're a nonprofit, 2.75. And then for the EIDL, you have up to 30 years to pay back at 3.75% interest and then 2.75 for nonprofits. So it's really a good time right now to be a business owner. I mean, obviously with everything going on, the money that's coming could potentially really bail us out and help us get into a really back to where we were before all this was happening.
Yeah. And I just want to add the idea of these programs is in part, as Spicita and Ephraim have both said, is the PPP, is which we're calling the Paycheck Protection Program, is about payroll and making sure that people can stay on their payroll. The EIDL, and combine the two of them and then some of the other benefits that are out there, and we'll talk about those too, is about not only keeping people employed, but economic stimulus. So we want to stimulate the economy just as much as we want to keep it going forward, as much as we want to maintain where we are today. But it's also about stimulating the economy, because the government needs people to be employed so that they can collect taxes, so that we can continue to be about the business of the government. Now, one of the programs, the PPP program, does allow, well, it's not the PPP. it's another part of the package that you don't have to pay payroll taxes. It defers them. You don't have to not pay them, but they're deferred. So that's another part, because then it takes the burden off of the business owner to have to pay employment taxes during this time. So again, there are other parts of this that are just as important as the two loan programs, is the tax benefits that are out there for businesses. And again, think economic stimulus. We want to stimulate the economy, particularly with the EIDL. Yes, you're going to get, if you apply, you get a $10,000 grant. If your initial application, you can get an emergency grant. It usually is 3 days that money comes in, but because the government is so overburdened, we've never seen anything like this before. The PPP is a brand new legislation that's never existed before. And so what we're seeing is what the government is saying, look, we're trying to do what we can to stimulate growth in the economy. So that's the importance of what these regulations are doing.
Now,
And can I jump? Oh,
let me ask you guys a question real quick, because this is something I've been saying, and I've been known to go off emotion a little bit, but I want to see if y'all can back me up with some actual financial acumen. To me, I've been saying that I think these programs will keep a lot of businesses afloat that otherwise would close right now over these next few months, right? Depending on how long this thing goes on. So they'll keep businesses alive that otherwise may fail, and these businesses can go on to do great things just because they live to see another day. Also think that it will position some people to be able to take advantage of business opportunities that are available right now that maybe otherwise they wouldn't have been able to do because of limited resources or a bunch of other things that can happen right now. So, I mean, I feel like it's an opportunity that people really need to grab a hold of, especially in our community. I mean, do y'all have any thoughts about that? You think, am I way off base? Am I looking at it right? Like, I'm curious to know what your thoughts on that.
oh no, I think absolutely you are, because I started my business in 2009 during the Depression. Not the Depression, but when we thought, the economy was down. Now is the time for small businesses to innovate, and whatever you were doing before this went down, it's time for you to take a look at your business. It's time for you to take opportunity for your business. I mean, now is the time where new business starts. Honestly, I mean, it's really jacked up the situation that we're all in. But I'm excited for small business and the innovation that's going to come out of this.
Yeah, and I will also add, Lamar, to your point and to what Spicita is saying, in terms of businesses need cash to grow. That's just a fundamental tenet of business. I don't care what anybody says, unless you've been spitting off a lot of cash and you've been putting it aside and you got cash reserves. Businesses need an influx of cash. 99% of businesses in America need, or any business needs, an influx of cash to help get to the next level. What this economic stimulus and these packages can do is afford people an opportunity to get a loan that under regular restrictions they may not be able to get. Some of the restrictions are relaxed for these loan programs, so you can get in there and apply for these programs and get funding when in normal times you may not ever be able to get it. So it's important to go after the money, go after the funding, and what's going to happen is you're going to have to prove that you need it, especially on the EIDL part. So it's not like this is just some free money. There is work behind it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But Lamar, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're spot on.
And that's good. I would encourage everybody. I myself in our business, we have gone after SBA money, and we've also recently submitted for the PPP program, right, for the Payroll Protection Program. And what I can say, the paperwork is drastically different. like we did that payroll protection piece, and we were looking like, are we missing something? Like this really can't be all they're asking for. After we faced like the normal program, right? I was like. I was just looking, is there like a side two that didn't print out or what, right? Because so I do want to emphasize people, like a lot of that red tape has been pulled back, so make sure you're taking advantage of the opportunity here. Guys, if you're just joining us, we are here today with the ABC Money Squad, right? A group of accountants, bookkeepers, and consultants that have formed together to help our community, right? Help our community be able to find and get a piece of this SBA money that is out here as part of the stimulus package and the CARES Act. Today we're talking about the two primary programs within it, how you can get a piece of it. And in a second, we'll be going to questions. So make sure as they're talking, if you have questions, you write them down, you type them down so that we can go to questions in just a minute and answer everything that you guys have. So let me ask you guys, because it came up, maybe Amelia, will come to you. We talked about these different programs. Like, what does it actually take to qualify for these programs? I've seen a lot of questions about that. Some people say, well, is it looking at your credit? Do I need to have good credit? Do they even look at your credit at all, right? What do I need to have for my business? Like, what exactly are we showing, the banks or the individuals, or even are we going to banks or just straight to the SBA? So 2 questions. Are we going to banks or to the SBA, or who do we actually go to? And then 2, like, what do we actually have to show these organizations in order to get access to this capital, to this money?
Excellent question. So number one, there is 2 primary programs. Let's speak to the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program first. So that is a program that is direct with the SBA. So you cannot go to a lender or anywhere else to apply for that. You have to go direct to the SBA to apply for the EIDL. Right now, about 95% of the country qualifies to apply for the EIDL. So it is based on the county and the state that you live in, but about 95% of the country is eligible to apply. With that particular loan program, there is not, at this time, there's not a set amount that people are receiving. Some people are receiving $50, $100 to $500,000, but you can apply for up to $2 million. So there is some type of an underwriting process. So while in previous SBA loans, they will say, we want you to have a 640. That has been lifted. While we do know they still look at credit, we do not know the exact credit score that they're looking for. So I am encouraging everyone to not count yourself out. You should apply anyway and let them tell you no, right? So that is with the EIDL. And as Ephraim stated earlier, that loan program can be paid back over a course of 30 years, 3.75% interest rate. That is almost free money. Most business owners know who have to use lines of credit, and maybe they're using credit cards to float their business. They understand that that is an excellent interest rate when you can have, 10, 15, 20, and 30 years to pay back a loan. So that is the EIDL. Okay. And you have to have suffered some type of economic injury to apply for it. The PPP, on the other hand, as Brigid stated, this is the one that is protecting the paychecks, protecting your paycheck as a business owner, protecting the paychecks of the employees of your company. And right now, if you have employees, you are eligible to apply. If you're just a sole proprietor or you have just straight 1099 income, you should be able to apply as of this upcoming Friday. And that is going to be direct with your banking institution. So the bank where you have your business checking account. Now, there are some banks who are no longer accepting applications, and there are some other banks who are also allowing individuals to apply with them if your bank is no longer accepting applications. So there is a little research that you'll have to do if your bank is no longer accepting applications. But that does not mean all hope is lost. It just means that there's a little bit more work you have to do to find that lender that you can partner with. But this is the one that is forgivable. EIDL does not have any forgivable aspect to it, with the exception of the $10,000 advance potentially. Everything else on the PPP side can be forgivable if you use it for certain items. And again, those items would be payroll, rent, if you're leasing a building, mortgage interest. So not if you actually have a mortgage on a building, but the interest you're paying on that mortgage, and utilities. So those are, again, the 2 primary differences. And I encourage everyone to not count yourself out. Apply for both. Okay. Do not count yourself out and apply for both.
And I would add too, it's a cap on the amount of money that's going out. So time is of the essence. So you want to get in there and apply, get yourself in there. And as Amelia said, there are some banks that haven't even opened up the lending opportunity yet, because they're still dealing. I was talking with a bank today. They're dealing with the back end of, they don't know what terms can be. There's a lot of stuff on the back end that they're still working through, the banks themselves, to make sure they don't get themselves tripped up from all of this. And so the banks are having to deal with that and that's for the PPP program. And as Amelia said, one program is actually funded by the banks, by our banking system. The other is by the federal government through the SBA, which is two different lending parameters, two different, they're very similar, but they're different in how they approach lending. And as I mentioned before, this is a good time to borrow money because usually SBA is a lender of last resort, which means you would have had to have been denied a whole bunch of other times before you can get this money. But now that's not the case. The case is you need money to keep your business doors open and keep running your operations. So it's just important that you know those distinctions.
And I just want to add to that.
Go ahead, Spicy.
If you're applying for that PPP loan, make sure that when they tell you that you're let in, because a lot of banks opened it up on Saturday for small business owners. As soon as they opened up the loan application process, they got flooded with applications and it was closed. So a lot of people are getting waitlisted and being put in. So when you get in, make sure you already know what your average payroll is for the year. And it's really easy to go in and calculate it. Look at your 2019 payroll costs, include the 1099s. So if you paid people 1099s last year, add that together, divide it by 12, and have your average number, because you'll be able to get 2.5 times that. You'll be able to apply for that for the PPP loan. And don't count yourself out if you didn't W-2 anybody. Like Amelia was saying, make sure you pick up those 1099s and be ready, because I was nervous today applying because I thought we were going to get kicked out.
And then even with the economic injury disaster loan, having your paperwork together for that, having your personal financial statements, your scheduled liabilities, your income statement and balance sheet for 2019 if you haven't filed your 2019 tax return. Honestly, even if you have, I would still into the bucket. Your 2020 January 1st through March 31st year-to-date profit and loss statement. They're going to ask for all those things, and it's all on the website. And it's really important that once you apply, that you want to start, if you haven't gotten all that together, get it together so that whenever they call your number, you're not scrambling around trying to put everything together, and then you're moving forward, because they could potentially say, okay, you're moving too slow, we're going to move to the next person. So it's really important to get all that stuff together now. And if you don't have someone to help you with that, there's people out there that can help you, like us.
Yeah, and we have other members of the ABC Money too. We have Deanna with Grants Financial, and we have Tracy Tate over in California. So if you're in Chicago or California or wherever you are, it's not just us. The ABC Money Squad is a group of people that can help you guys get all that stuff that Ephraim talked about.
So guys, let's go to the questions. Got a bunch of questions. The questions are kind of bubbling over down here. We are simulcast to a bunch of different pages all at once, so we got questions coming in from all over. The first question, this is a very good one. That I want to take is from Dr. Dawn. What's up, Dr. Dawn? She said, question: if you've experienced some decrease in revenue as an independent contractor, but you are not in a dire situation, should you still apply?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you could need the money later on. This because even though they're saying apply now that it started, we don't know when people are actually going to get funded, and you don't know how long you're going to be able to maintain where you are, because even though your clients may be paying you now, or you have reserves, or you've got contracts and things like that, 2 or 3 months from now, we don't know what's going to happen. We nobody knows, and so it's important that you get yourself positioned to have those funds available for some future point in time.
I love it. Hey,
and I would like to add to that, if it's okay, Lamar. On the PPP application, Dr. Don, they specifically have you attest to the fact that you believe that there is economic uncertainty, that you're not too sure, how your income is going to fluctuate. And because of that, I mean, again, as Brigid stated, we don't know what the future holds the next 3 to 4 months, but because they make you attest to that, if anyone has any type of uncertainty about the future of their revenue expenses, which everyone should, every business owner should, you would be eligible to apply.
All right. I got another question for you guys, and this is for either Spicy or Ephraim. Chrissy said, can you qualify for both, right? The EIDL or Paycheck Protection Program, or it has to be one or the other?
You can
Okay.
apply for both, but when you get the payroll protection program, and let's say, for example, you can apply for the EIDL and get the emergency fund loan where you can get up to $10,000. Then you turn around and you're fortunate enough to get in with the PPP. When you make that application for the PPP, you actually have to deduct the emergency funds that you got because they don't want people double dipping. Ephraim, what else you know about that?
No, most definitely. You have to, I would say, apply for both because they both serve different purposes, right? The PPP is for payroll, and then also, rent and utilities. And then the EIDL, that's more so for like working capital and other costs that you might have within the business, So technically, one is a forgivable loan. If you do everything correctly, you document it and you spend it on the right things within the first 8 weeks of receiving it, then that could be forgiven. And like Sarcita said, if you were fortunate enough to get that $10,000 emergency grant, then you can deduct that from the money that you got so that you're not double dipping. But then you also have that money on the EIDL side that also further grow your business as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
Guys,
The capital is cheap, Lamar. It's 1%.
And the way I've been looking at it is I've been kind of talking to people is I would rather have the money not need it and pay it back than to need it later on. Is what Brigid was saying, right? To need it 3 months from now or 6 months from now and say, man, I need that SBA money and go, and then all of it's dried up. Because there is so much uncertainty and we don't know what's coming around the corner or if this will be a 2-month occurrence, a 2-year occurrence, right? We really don't know what's going on with it. So, guys, all I can say is take action to you. Hey, I got a great comment. What's up, Angela? Angela said this could be a reset for a lot of small businesses. It's giving access to cash and the time to catch up. In some cases, press the gas. It is our time. So there we go, Angela. I love that comment. Had to share it.
Yes.
Got a question for y'all. Fatima Grant says, where do micro businesses fall in all of this? What about people that don't have employees or payroll? It is still some access and opportunity for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
I would say the EIDL program. You can go after that money and apply for that emergency grant. You're still a business. You still operate in a business, even if you're a sole proprietor. You can still go after that EILD money. I think as I think Amelia said it, or someone on our team. It's that EIDL program has been around for a long time. The hurricanes hit. You go to that EIDL program, tornadoes, earthquake, anytime there's natural disasters or anything like that that causes people to lose their ability to generate revenue and grow their business or continue their business, there's that economic piece right there that you can use. So absolutely, I would highly recommend that you apply for the funding.
Okay. And the PPP you can apply on Friday, right, Amelia? I was reading that, yeah. So Friday, if you're a sole proprietor, you get access to the PPP if your bank is going to open up, because it's been crazy this week.
Yeah.
And last, I think the other thing that people who are sole proprietors, you don't have any employees, should remember, eventually your state is going to expand the unemployment benefits. That was a large chunk of the money out of this $2 trillion package, was to make sure that states had money for gig economy workers, for people who only have 1099 income, meaning they file a Schedule C on their tax return. And so as soon as those expanded unemployment benefits become available, you should go and apply, okay? So what you need to do is make sure that you are stalking state's Department of Labor website to see when those funds become available. Right now, to my knowledge, no state has made the funds available under the expanded unemployment benefits, but that will soon change. So make sure you are going to your Department of Labor website of your state so you can stay in tune when that money becomes available. Because if you do not have employees, it is just you. You should be able to qualify for those expanded unemployment benefits. And just so you know what they are, because nothing like this has ever happened before, it is the regular unemployment benefit plus an additional $600 per week. Okay, the regular unemployment benefit for your state plus an additional $600 per week. So that is tremendous. For people who live in southern states and it may not be that expensive to live, you might be able to, you might make a little bit more than you were making, in your business in some cases after expenses. So just keep that in mind. Do not forget about spending benefits.
Okay.
And that just made me think about, don't count out your counties, because the counties also have stimulus funds in your cities. So we're talking about the federal funds that are available. Make sure that you Google and see what your city and your county has available for small business owners.
All right, guys. So we are about to go around the horn, right, as fast as we can. We got a ton of questions in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick one of you. If you need to defer, that's fine. But if you got the answer, you can give us the answer. Then I'll take the next person, and we'll go around with the next question. All right, let's start with Ephraim.
Okay, cool.
Ephraim, Wendy wants to know, how does the $10,000 advance work with the EIDL?
Oh, that's a great question. So with the $10,000 advance, the very first thing you want to do is go on SBA.gov, and there's an application. Now, last Sunday when you went on there, it was front smack and center on the website, but now they've kind of hidden it, so you just got to find it. But once you find it, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to fill out, and it just asks you things like what's your business information, what's your EIN, what are the things pertinent to your business, and it literally just takes 5 to 10 minutes. And once you finish it, at the end, it has a part where it asks you, do you want to be in consideration for the $10,000 emergency grant? So you check that box, and then it asks you for your routing and account number. You enter that in, and you click submit, and then you'll pretty much be in the running for that $10,000.
All right. Let me see. Next question, we'll go to Spicita. Spicita, Andrea Evans Esquire. What's up, Andrea? She wanted to know, so these are loans that have to be paid back with interest, yes or no?
Typically, the PPP has 1% interest, and it has a forgiveness provision. So if you don't use the PPP for payroll and rent, then will have to pay it back. The interest rate is 1%, and they would prefer that you keep anything that's non-payroll related, non-utilities, non-mortgage related below 25%. So if you go out of control and you take 75% and you try to pay off some principal in your mortgage, that's not allowed. You're going to have to pay that back at 1%. Also with the PPP, you're able to defer payments for 6 months, and it has a 2-year payback provision. On the EIDL, the interest rate is 3.75% for profits and 2.75% for nonprofits. You have a whole year where you don't have to make the payment, and you could spread it out over 30 years. And the beauty of that one, Andrea, is that you don't have to just use it for payroll. It's a working capital loan. So you'll be able to get up to $25,000 without collateral. They may give you more without collateral, but it's the beauty of it is working capital. Working capital is inventory. If you need that to keep your business going, it's more than just about the payroll and the utilities and keeping the lights on.
All right. We got the next question comes in from Dino. What's up, Dino? Shout out to the Mastermind fam watching. Dino said,
Hey,
is the
Dino.
Paycheck Protection Program, this is for Amelia, is the Paycheck Protection Program only for workers that are in the U.S.? Can he use it for his offshore contractors that he may have, or only for workers that are in the United States? And then, if you can, he didn't ask, but I know I've been getting a lot of questions about, can you use it for 1099 workers? Can you not? Is it only for W-2? Can you use it for both? So, who do we use that Paycheck Protection Program for, Amelia?
Question, Dino. So first and foremost, I want to put this disclaimer out there that the Treasury is still updating these rules every day, every single day. The Treasury is issuing new guidance to banks. They're issuing new guidance to accountants and regulators regarding how and who this money can apply for. So right now, 1099 contractors have the ability to apply for the PPP on their own. So technically speaking, you're not supposed to use this money for independent contractors, even though we know that some accountants and some people have included them in the payroll costs, and that is for them and the bank to figure out once it comes to closing of that loan. So right you cannot utilize that money to pay workers outside the United States. They have to be physically located inside the United States. And that was made fairly clear in the guidelines that was issued this past Friday evening. Those individuals have to be located in the United States. And again, for the contractor, because they can apply on their own, they're technically not supposed to be included in that number. But I've heard cases where people have included them. But if you notice, some banks are asking for that information, some banks are not. And we don't know if that's so they can specifically exclude them at closing of that loan, or if they're going to include them. So again, there's still a lot of uncertainty regarding the provisions of that particular loan package. But I would imagine before someone actually closes on that loan, they would have to have more guidance from the SBA. But as it stands right now, they're not supposed to be included because they can apply on their own.
Okay, awesome. Okay, Brigid, I got a good one for you. You ready for this one?
I hope so.
This is a great question. For people that are professions like barber, or maybe they have a business where they own a hair salon or they're a hairstylist. For the Paycheck Protection Program, how can I present income when I do not do W-2 or payroll? Basically, I get deposits daily from credit card swipes or something like that. So they don't do, issue W-2s, or, don't have W-2 employees, or don't issue payroll. Can they still take advantage of this actual program?
Of the PPP program,
Yes.
they are looking for W-2. They're looking for W-2s. And so if there's no W-2, that's why you have to go to that EIDL program, because that's a big problem in the marketplace, and my colleagues can confirm for me, but you need to go to that EIDL program as opposed to the PPP. I know the PPP is a great option because we want to have that grant forgiveness and all of that, but even at the rate that they're talking about, it's pretty low, and it's a good way to go, but you're going to have to go for the EIDL.
All right, awesome. Hey guys, and if you're just joining us again, my name is Lamar Tyler. I'm the creator and founder of Traffic Sales and Profit. We help entrepreneurs drive more traffic, convert more sales, and grow the amount of profit in their businesses. Today, we're joined by members of the ABC Money Squad, the accountant, bookkeepers, and financial consultants that have come together. They all have their own practices spread out right from the West Coast to the East Coast, but they've come together to help small business owners and entrepreneurs navigate this funding so that we can make sure we can get our piece of the pie as well. All right, we'll keep going here because I'm telling y'all, when I say there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of questions down here in these comments, right, across these different pages. Here's one, Ephraim. Does your current bank savings balance, or let's ask even checking balance, does that affect your approval? How much money you actually have in the bank right now?
No, it doesn't affect your approval. I mean, every program has their guidelines for what they're looking for. The PPP, everything is streamlined. Everything is to get everything together. Honestly, shouldn't take too long. But then, once you turn it in, then how long the bank takes to give you an approval, that depends, with the amount of workload that they have. But checking in a savings account balance doesn't really have anything to do with either program. And then with the EIDL, especially with the $10,000 emergency grant, I don't really know necessarily what they're looking for when it comes to that $10,000, but I know that it's a very streamlined process. You pretty much go on the SBA website, you submit, and then you hopefully hear back from them within a week or two. They say that you're supposed to get the money in 3 days, but I think it's more so once they get to your application, then they give you money 3 days if you're approved for it. So to answer your question, your checkings and your savings accounts balance doesn't really have anything to do with this application.
All right, great. All right, Spicita, we got a good one coming to you. And real quick before I go to Spicita, guys, if y'all are enjoying this, do me a favor, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us some hearts or something. And also, more importantly, share this to your pages. Share this to your personal Facebook page. Put it into the groups that you're a member of, because we need to spread this message, and as many people as possible need to get a hold of this. They cannot wait until 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now. The money may not still be available, so make sure you're doing your part and actually sharing this message and getting it out. Spicita, someone wants to know, right?
Yes.
What do they need to gather together, right? What documents or information do they need to gather in order to submit for either the EIDL or for the Paycheck Protection Program?
When you get started with the PPP, you do need to have, you need to know what your payroll was, the average of the last 12 months. If you don't know that, just look at your tax return, or if you're using QuickBooks, grab that number, divide by 12, because you're going to determine how much you're going to actually apply for. The EIDL, that one's pretty simple to get the process started, right? You need to know your tax ID number, you need to know your address, your personal social security number, and you need to have your banking, routing, and account number ready. They're not going to ask any numbers initially EIDL, but you need to be ready. So once you initial application, make sure you have your personal financial statement. You need to have your tax returns for 3 years, because they might ask for 2 or 3 years, for your personal and your business. And am I missing anything, guys?
Well, on the EIDL, you do have to give revenues and cost of goods sold. Yeah, you have to give your revenue numbers and your cost of goods sold numbers too. So you need to know those two P&L numbers. Yep.
Yeah, when you do the initial application.
Yeah, for the initial application for EIDL.
Yeah, I forgot about that, Brigid. Thank you. Make sure.
Hey, so before we go to the next question, because I think this is a great moment just to kind of talk about this for a second, because a lot of people are saying, well, I don't have that, right? Like, I don't know how to get access to those financial numbers or those financial documents, and I think this is really why you guys came together. Can one of you or a few of you kind of talk about that a little bit for people that don't have access to those documents at their fingertips? I don't know if I have a balance sheet. I don't know if I got profit and loss statements. Like, is my stuff up to date? Is everything entered correctly? If I'm assuming you guys see businesses that don't have all this together, so I don't want people to think they crazy or that they just live on an island somewhere if they don't, because I think a lot of businesses don't. But if they don't, what does a business like that do? How can you guys help them?
That's a great question, Lamar. And to your point, we do see that a lot, and that's why we're here. In order to get this funding, you have to be able to present financials at some point. With the PPP, maybe the PPP, there are some financial requirements that you should know. And definitely with the EIDL, with that EIDL program, what's going to happen is you fill out that application, again, ask for what Spicita said, plus your revenues and your cost of goods. Then what's going to happen, you check that box for that 10, maybe you get that 10, but they're going to come back and ask you for more information about your business, P&L, balance sheet, schedule of liabilities, things like that. So you need to know those things. And so how we help people is we actually help you get that information into some accounting package. Some of us use QuickBooks, some of us use Xero. You don't have to, but if you have an Excel spreadsheet and you have it all laid out, you should at least have someone look at the numbers, make sure they make sense. You're not including your owner contributions as revenue, that understand basic tenets of business. And so that's just important. Before this even happened, you should have that. And even after this is over, it's going to be even more important, because there's going to be so much accountability. When you get this money from the government and from these banks, there's going to be an accountability that's going to be required you could end up worse off if you aren't able to account for how you spent that money. So it's going to be really, really important. And again, Lamar, like you said, there are people that don't have it. Find an accountant, find a bookkeeper, find a well-qualified person, because I've worked with businesses that had bookkeepers and the bookkeepers didn't know what they were doing. So it's really important that you have someone that knows what they're doing.
Give them the link, Brigid, because we've come together with over 150 years of experience, so that you guys aren't out here in the internet streets just hiring people who don't know what the heck they're doing. Okay, we're all professionals. We have over 10 years of experience each in our respective businesses, over 20 years of experience in the accounting and business consulting profession. If you go to ABC Money Squad, there's going to be some information there. You can fill out your information. It's going to it'll direct you to one of us. If you want to make sure that you're going to have a qualified person doing your, because I like to say that numbers don't lie, and your numbers tell a story about your business. Before COVID-19 happened, your numbers was telling the bank whether you could afford to the loan or whether you couldn't afford the loan. That doesn't change. The government has made it easier for us to get access to the money, but if you can't show that you have the ability to pay it back, then and your financials are just saying negative things behind your business back, you need to make sure you got some good numbers. And I highly recommend you use any of the accountants in the ABC Money Squad.
And the actual link is abcmoneysquad.kartra.com.
Yep. And guys, we pulled it up so you guys can see it right there on the screen. We'll put it back on the screen for you. You can get a hold of it right there. So I went to abcmoneysquad.com, pulled it up, and it went to it. And they say they will help you get your COVID money now, right? That's not you guys. All right. So if you guys got a few minutes, we'll jump back into a few questions because the comment box is still on fire. If y'all don't mind, can I hold you guys for a few minutes overtime? Is that cool with you?
Sure.
All right. Awesome.
Sure.
All right. So Keisha said, how long does your business, and this is for Spicita, I think we're on Spicita, how long does your business have to be in existence prior to applying for the EIDL?
You just have to have been in business as of February 15th, 2020. So the money is available even for startup businesses. So even if your business doesn't have a prior year tax return, you can still qualify for the loan. Okay. You just got to prove that you were in business on February 15th, 2020 before this whole thing hit.
All right. Awesome. All right. Let me see. The next one in line says, here's a good one from Christine. What's up, Christine? More Mastermind fam. Christine, and this for Amelia, said, are there any differences for minors with businesses?
No, there's no differences for minors with business. And some obviously a minor cannot execute a contract, to take out a loan. So there may be a point where a parent would have to come to the plate to sign on those loan documents. But no, if a minor has a business, they still have the same rights to apply for the same business as anyone else.
All right. I love it. Thank you for that. Here we have for Brigid. Wow, here's a good one, right? All right, Brigid. Thimby said, how does this work for those of us? Brigid, you get the meaty ones every time, right? It just kind of round. Yeah. Ephraim get them one-liners, right? Like, I need money in savings or checkings. You know what I'm saying? you get the meaty ones. Okay. Thimby said, how does this work for those of us who had events planned and canceled? I'm a caterer, and I did larger and more jobs last year and had plans to double the jobs based off of positive feedback. All those events have been canceled. Is there something that can be done for that kind of situations? Is that the kind of person, a business that lines up perfect again for the EIDL?
Yes, because again, they're looking at your decline in revenues. Obviously, your revenues have declined significantly, and so you're absolutely aligned for getting the EIDL money. Particularly if you didn't have any employees, then absolutely go for the EIDL.
Okay, awesome.
Good question.
Hey, Ephraim, here's another. Y'all, look, I want to say, everybody watching, y'all's questions are amazing, right? And I'm sure maybe we can get some of the Money Squad to come back. If we didn't catch you, if you watch this later and it's not live on replay, drop a question. Maybe we get some of the Money Squad to come back and answer some additional questions as well. But Ephraim, here's another good one. Kevin said, can you file for multiple businesses that you own? So if I own 2 businesses, 3 businesses, can I actually file for multiple businesses to actually take advantage of some of this?
Yeah, you definitely can, as long as they all are like separated, like they all have their own LLC or corporation, all have their own EINs, and they all have financial statements, payroll, things of that nature. They're all their own separate entities, so you definitely can file for each of them. I know one of my clients, they filed for 5 of their businesses literally last week for the emergency grant, and they're still waiting to hear back. But yeah, you could definitely file for all your businesses.
All right, awesome. And Spicy, this is from Janice. What's up, Janice? More TSP Mastermind fam. Janice said, hey guys, I'm late, so I'm not sure if this is covered, but do they, right, the SBA, tell you how much they're willing to loan you, or do I have to come up with an amount on my own? How do they kind of calculate exactly what that amount is that Janice is eligible to receive?
Calculated. So they're going to ask you your revenues at the top of the application, and so I'm assuming that that's going to determine how you're going to be allocated. There's only $359 million or $349 million. There is 30 million small businesses. And so I was reading an article recently this week or over the weekend, Janice, that says that if every small business got what I'm calling the small business bailout, we would need $3 trillion or $1 trillion. So they're going to have to allocate that some kind of way for the SBA so that no one's getting more than the other and that there's enough for us all to share. For the PPP, that amount is going to be based on 2.5 times your payroll, but you may not even get all of that.
All right, guys. All right. Hey, guys, again, like I said, if you're just watching, my name is Lamar Tyler. I'm here with members of the ABC Money Squad. They are a group of accountants, bookkeepers, and consultants that are from across the country. They all have their own successful practices, but they have come together to help inform small business owners and entrepreneurs just like you on how you can get to this SBA funding and to this SBA money. Let me see if we got 1 or 2 questions we'll take, and then we'll kind of give you guys a second to just kind of, get some closing remarks. Here's one from Stephanie. Stephanie says, I'm a realtor, and I believe we're back to you, Amelia. I'm a realtor working under a broker and receive a 1099 each year. Can I request the EIDL?
So if you're a realtor and you're working underneath a broker, if you have not yet experienced a significant hardship, like a decline in revenue for your business, you may not be eligible for EIDL money just yet, even though I would still attempt to apply. Again, I'm just for the premise, let them turn you down versus you counting your own stuff out. But you absolutely, as of this upcoming Friday, should be able to apply for PPP. And again, you would also be eligible for those expanded unemployment benefits when they become available with your state. So again, for you, if you're 1099, no employees on the PPP side, your eligibility opens this upcoming Friday with your bank. Your bank may or may not be ready, so you need to do a little recon and investigate if they'll be ready to accept individual 1099s on Friday. But as soon as they are, make sure you get into the pipeline and apply.
All right. That was awesome. All right, guys. So let's, if we can, right, like I would like each one of you just to give me, we'll go around. We'll start with you, Brigid. If you could just give me, one thing that you want people watching this or the small business owners, the entrepreneurs to kind of know or to take advantage of or to take action on, what would that one immediate thing, be?
The one immediate thing would be, that's hard. I would say make sure you apply for the EIDL. I think as a business owner, you've really got nothing to lose. I mean, and at the minimum, you could get $10,000 in assistance. And, most of our small businesses, $10,000 could be quite meaningful. So I would say apply for the EIDL.
All right. So Brigid says apply for the EIDL. Ephraim, what would you say? What would be your one kind of takeaway you want people to move with?
My one takeaway would be also to apply for the EIDL, but also just to take action. I think a lot of times in situations like this, like I remember in college, there would be so many scholarships for people of color. And even though a lot of us would have gotten the money, we just decided not to because we had a mindset breakdown that said, hey, we're not going to get it, and I feel like we need to definitely get our piece of the pie, So in this situation like this, even if you may not think you have everything together, we're here to support you. We're here to help you. And we can help you get to where you're trying to get to in a quick manner to where you can definitely apply and just get your piece of the pie. So I would say my biggest takeaway would be to take action and to not just sit this one out and to get in line, because who knows? Let's say you apply today and money runs out and they come out with more money than you're already in line, instead of you having to wait for more money to come and then you start applying. So I would say that would be my biggest takeaway, to take action.
I love that one. Y'all know, always love anything with the word action in it, right? Take action. All right. Spicy Jackson, what would you say is your one takeaway, the one thing you want people to do after they, close out from this, after they share this conversation, tag 100 friends, and then close out from the conversation? What's the one thing you want them to do?
I would say say the one thing that you should do is take an accounting of your cash flow, right? Cash flow is the breath of your business. Cash flow is the breath of your livelihood. And not only the cash flow of your business, but take an assessment of the cash flow of your household. There's so many things out there. You can like defer your loan payments. My husband and I were talking today, and we said, you know what, if we deferred our mortgage for 3 months, even because they're not reporting late to the credit bureau, that's thousands of dollars that you can use and create your own stimulus. So take an accounting of your cash flow, both business and personally, and make sure that this isn't a lose-lose situation for you, but a win-win.
That's good.
Very good. Very good. All right.